Well, good evening, all. Ira Epstein, and here we are on Monday. It's the 5th of January, 2026, and it is the day that the Santa Claus rally. It had the last day of the event for the Yale Hirsch method of following it, and it worked. You went up in the Dow, you made a rally into the Santa period, the 5 days, as you know, before the end of the year trading sessions, that is, and the 2 trading sessions right after the new year. And the market came alive today. You went up and set records in the Dow, so that part worked. All the other indices came alive as well. You see that NVDA is down a bit. The market had been up quite a bit more than this, actually. And I guess the keynote speech didn't go over that well that Jensen Huang did at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Now, I know that he's done an interview that'll be on CNBC in the morning talking about the new chips that are coming out and taking questions, I understand it, from a studio audience. So maybe we'll get more there. I'd be watching the aftermarkets and see how the market responds to how that went. In the metal markets, you were strong from the opening last night, and you just went bonkers to the upside today. Did we go up for new all-time highs? Well, not in the futures markets, but you had big rallies, no question about it. But that's been the nature of the metal game, up and down like a yo-yo and violent. Rivian was up a little bit today. Joby came alive as well for a change. Uranium stocks got away from that $42 area. They're doing much better. Netflix was up a little bit, and that's good news, although I'm still not of the opinion that the market likes that they're buying, or it looks like they'll be the lead buyer for Paramount. Amazon had a very nice day, up $6 on the day. Tesla had a good day, up $13.60. So it doesn't matter if you sell the cars. It matters how the market interprets how important things are going to be. Now, Eli Lilly, as you can see, down $38. I wonder if that has something to do with Novo Nordisk coming out today with their price cuts on their products for people that are paying cash and making their products very reliable. We'll see. So if we could, let's go to the markets and take a look at what we've got. EEM, these are the emerging markets. Now, there is a big gap down here. This market had a gap over here, if you'll remember, down, and it went up and filled it on the way back up here. And now the question is, will we get high enough to come back down and get a better point of entry in this market, maybe near the 55 level, if that's what happens? In terms of the swing line, you have higher lows and higher highs. That is bullish in the market. The market is holding the 18-day average of closes. This is the 100. This is the 200. So everything's still lined up in a bullish configuration. And I think the market's getting ahead of itself. Markets only stay over or under the black lines, the dashed ones, the upper Bollinger Band or the lower, 5% of the time. And if you go back and you look at this, you can get one of these patterns where you run like that, but it normally comes when you have a narrower Bollinger Bands, which you don't have right here. So we'll see. It could be that it runs. I'm certainly not bearish, but buying over a Bollinger Band, that is something that I teach that you never, ever do. And I am offering my course on Bollinger Bands, 40% off this week. So you can either take the research and or the courses and get 40 off. This will be the best sale of the year. In other words, the most that I discount my product. So you should take a good hard look at it and see what you've got from there, because I think that you might find it very interesting. So let's go to gap. If you'll remember, we were talking here and I said the market is now acted like it made a short-term top, maybe the top, right up against this whole area. You can call it a triple top area. And it has fallen now to the Bollinger Band where it's oversold. I think the pros were covering the shorts on Friday, and I think today they did more of that if they hadn't done it already. Lululemon is acting much better than obviously the gap. It is being able to hold together. It has not gotten back to the 18-day averaging closes, the red line here. The momentum of the market when it lost the bullish momentum, I thought it would retreat back here. The key for the market is not to get back over this high if you're playing that you will eventually retreat to the 18-day average off the lost bullish momentum. Now, did we have the embedded reading? Well, you lost it here, and you just got to look at the numbers here. If you look at how you were, all the numbers were over 80, and suddenly you had a close under 79. The following day, you did not get it back. But now I'm looking at how many days in a row you're over 80, and you have an embedded situation that you lost again. Normally what that means is the market's going to try to visit the 18-day average before it takes out the most recent high, and I do go over it in great detail in my course. In FedEx, you can see how the market is lifted up to new highs on this move, but not all markets went for highs. Netflix acting poor. Look at how it's back to the lower Bollinger Band. It is oversold. It's not a market that I would tell you push the short side, but it is certainly not in a bullish configuration. Uber was a complete failure today. The market, all it did is really rally on Friday up to the 18-day average of closes after losing a bearish embedded reading, and that's what the market was calling for. And it completed that on Friday, and it's back down today. And now it has to restructure itself. In Rivian today was up 18 cents, but acted poorly. It is not a market that's throwing out buy signals. It is a market trying its best to hold on and not stay under the 18-day average of closes. Joby just annihilated the short sellers. Today was one of those days in this market where you went up and you're now up to a point, if you look here, where you're back up to this level. And we'll see what the market wants to do. Is it trending? I don't think so. It's really trading between the lower Bollinger Band and the upper band, and it's giving you short waves of ups and downs, but I don't think it's really trending. In the financial sector, well, obviously people are looking at this hard. The banks are taking off, JP Morgan and so on. But up against these Bollinger Bands, it's probably an area where you're going to see call writers come out and do a certain amount of option writing against positions. The market has held nicely the 18-day average, but I don't think it's screaming at you, oh, you've got to jump in right here. The industrial sector, the same. You're up to the upper Bollinger Band. You've done that before, and you can see what it's done each time it's done that. You can get there for a few days over the band, but you generally pull back, and that doesn't mean eventually you break out of the band, but you normally have to have a narrower band to do that. In XLE, the energy sector, well, wouldn't you have been surprised if energies were down today after what we saw in Venezuela? The other part of the conversation should be, big energy from the U.S. isn't going to just jump in and spend money because the Maduros are gone. No. The government's got to be set up. They have to have guarantees that they're going to commit billions of dollars into rebuilding the infrastructure and everything else that they're going to do for that. But it is a wake-up call what happened for Canada. And Canada has to realize that, once Venezuelan oil eventually comes back to the marketplace, the U.S. refineries really use that. What we produce in America, we export a lot of. We import a lot of the grade that Venezuela has, and we get that from Canada. So now that this is underway, you're going to see Canada probably tries to really work to tighten up and get their pipeline so that they can develop other markets. I'll be shocked if that's not the case. In the gold market, as I said, you're not up at new highs. You would think you are. You're trying to fill a gap. You're now taking off into it. You've left this whole area. There's a gap under you and right through there. There's going to be a lot of gap filling one way or the other is what I'm trying to say. Palantir, it just can't get out of its own way. It was up $6, but the market is very oversold. It hit the Bollinger Band on Friday and it's bouncing, but you can't say that the trend is up in that market. Same in Microsoft. Microsoft is just not a winner off the AI, and you would think that they'd have the natural park. This is a market that was recently up into the 553 area right here, and now you're back down $60 from there. I mean, that's more than a 10% break. You've had quite a bit of a move in it. I think you just got to let it do its thing at this point and see what it's going to do from there. So I'm not quite in the camp of this. When we look at UUP, higher high, lower low, it's embedded. So the dollar rally, I think, is going to be a short-lived experience. I think it's actually going to fall back on you. And FXE is trying to give you a rally at this point in time. You heard me mention that we're having a big sale. It will end shortly, all right? It's going to end this coming week right in front of us. We're in the last week of it. So to get 40% off any of the products that I have, give it a try. Go to IraEpstein.com. You can move your cursor up to the top here, or you can get on, if you're watching me on YouTube, there'll be a cursor right here. You can get the courses that I talk about, and you decide when you're going to take the courses. Just because you bought them doesn't mean that you have to take the course that day. You decide when it's going to start, and from there, we begin everything, all right? We'll turn on everything you get. The courses give you some samples for a period of time of my research and so on. But you're not going to get this 40 off again. And that is something to think about. IraEpstein.com, your cursors, your icons rather, move it up here, your cursor, or click right there. I'm Ira. Have yourself a great day. What a trading day today was.